What's up, Cougar Nation? This is Tyler Batty.
Tyler Batty again.
Tyler Batty comes in the game and right off the edge, just the three-man rush.
Welcome on into the Cougar Tracks Podcast. I am your BYU insider, Mitch Harper for KSLSports.com. It's your favorite Cougar Tracks episode of the week, the edition with BYU football captain and star defensive end Tyler Batty. Tyler will unpack the Texas loss and look ahead to that West Virginia game coming up this weekend. But how's the team doing coming after that loss in Austin last week?
Yeah, tough loss, man. The team, I would say the team's doing good. I think as good as we can be coming off that. We had, pretty high hopes for ourselves going into that game, and we left a lot on the table during that game, to be honest. And so, I think there's a lot of stuff. We look back and it's like, well, we shouldn't allowed a touchdown here. Should have made a play here, and it's one of those games you really wish you had a second shot at. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way in college football.
Was it one of those games where you feel like progress was made, but it was hard to enjoy that because the final score and how it ultimately ended up playing out?
Yeah, I mean,
I felt like it was a good day for the defense. It did feel like that until the tail end there.
Yeah, and again, it could have been a lot closer. In my mind, I think realistically, I think we could have held them to just that punt return for a touchdown. Yeah. I mean, I think we're a handful of plays away from that happening, right? I mean, I think 5 really. I think we're 5 plays away from, it being a 7-6 game and giving our offense the ball back, and so I think as a defense, that's where we got to be. I think we just got to be able to come up clutch in those moments. And again, like you said, I think there was progress. I just wish there was a little bit more. We all wish there was a little bit more results, from that progress in that game.
You got a hit on Malik Murphy in that first quarter, but he was able to complete the pass. How were the battles in the trenches up against Texas, who's considered one of the better offensive lines in college football?
Yeah, they're good. Good, talented guys. I would say good group of guys. I enjoyed playing against them.
Toughest offensive line you faced this year, or would you say someone else to this point?
Oof. That's a funky question. I think it's a multifaceted question, is what it is.
It's loaded.
Yeah, exactly. They're a really good offensive line. Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about that. I think the most aggressive offensive line we've seen, this is my personal opinion, was SUU.
Interesting.
They, again, we're just overall aggression. Yeah. I think hats off to them on that one. Again, am I saying we played the best against them or the worst against them? No, absolutely not. I'm not saying anything of the sort. I just think talented wise, I think the Big 12 has really consistent talent across the board. I think there's a lot of good offensive lines, and this Texas O-line was no exception.
Yeah, Texas had a lot of talent, but I do remember that SUU game. That was one where they were energetic and they were
just
hyped up for that.
Chippy, yeah. It's like when we play Utah State or
Yes.
something like that. It's just one of those games, that gets a little heated. So
they got a little heated to it, I'm sure, at times in that Texas game. Was there any extracurriculars at all with this game? Because it got chippy with Texas Tech, and nothing like that with Texas.
No, they're a really, really classy squad. Again, really, really good squad. I talked, some of their alignment after the game, and really enjoyed, playing against them, talking with them. It was a lot of fun. I think there was some potential. I think I heard a little bit of, some banter. I think in the secondary, or there was some, maybe a little drama there. But nothing up front.
What was the message from Jay Hill coming out of this game? Because you're hard to please, as you should. You're the leader of the defense. I got to imagine Jay Hill's hard to be pleased as well.
Yeah. Again, it was just the same thing. It was just like, hey, yes, we did some good stuff. Hey, we got to be better. At the end of the day, we just got to execute. We have a lot of really good players. We have a good defensive culture, I would say. Overall, I think we're doing some really good things. It's just we've just got to be better. flat out, right? Flat out, we just got to be better. And it's not that we're not capable of it, that may sound reoccurring, as maybe that's been said throughout the season, but it's just, okay, we're learning, we're progressing. I think individually at every single position, we are seeing a higher level of play every single week out of our guys.
Yeah.
Which that's what you want, right?
Yep.
But we all know that we need to be able to take over a game, right? At the end of the day, we got to be able to go out there. And that's your aspiration. I mean, that's, as a defensive player, that's what you want to be able to do. You want to be able to go out there with your defense and say, this is our game.
Yeah.
This is our game. And it doesn't matter what happens. We're going to shut this offense down. We're going to make them hurt. We're going to get turnovers. That's your dream, right? I get excited just thinking about that. And that's the type of defense that we want to play. And that's the defense the guys are buying into. And so, yes, we are progressing, but again, everyone's hungry for that defense.
Heading into the final third of the season, Tyler, what do you feel is the identity of this defense going into the final month?
I would say, tough, physical, playmaking, overall, again, we've done some really good stuff this season, right? We've caused a lot of turnovers, fumbles, picks, all over the place. Big fourth down stops, backed up, whatever it is. This defense has played really well. And you can tell this defense does not quit. They just don't roll over. And I hope everybody knows that, because that's, if they haven't figured it out now, they will.
Well, and I think if they didn't realize it last week, they saw it in those two fourth and goal stands. Jacob Robinson comes up with a stop, Jackson Cravens with another one. Maybe speak to those two plays, kind of what the mindset was going into those fourth and goal situations, and then you guys coming up with the stops.
Our guys are really good at, almost taking the context out of it. It's just we're out there on the field. We're going to do our job, and we're gonna ball out. We're going to do everything that we can to win that snap. I think our team's really good at that. I think our defense has done a really good job at, that next play mentality. It's just like, no matter what happens, whatever, we're out on the field. When we're out on the field, we're out there to play defense. And so in those situations, those fourth and whatever it is, yes, sadly, we let them get into that situation, right? We're on our own goal line, and it's fourth down, and, we don't want to be there, right? We'd much rather have gotten a 3 and out. But in those situations, guys aren't going to roll over and just be like, well, I guess you drove it this far. Here you go. It's just like, no, we're gonna do everything we can to keep you out of the end zone.
How's the morale of the team? I know we kind of talked about it at the beginning, but just the feeling of the offense, and I know you're on the defensive side and you're entrenched in that, but just how are they doing this week? And do they feel, is there still a sense of confidence that this team can still finish strong, because the offense, the struggles have been there for that group the past couple of weeks?
Yeah, again, I think our team culture is, we're very process driven, very processed focused, which is a really good thing, because at the end of the day, we've had some really tough games, you know what I mean? And some really tough results and stuff that we did not expect nor want. But it hasn't hampered the team in that, like, oh, wait, like, we're not good, or like, man, we're terrible, or, it's nothing to that effect. It's just, all right, we're going to stick to the process, and sooner or later, the result of that process will be what we want, right? And so, I think the offense has done a phenomenal job being resilient this season. It's complicated. I don't think people realize, how many moving pieces there are.
Is the team still behind Keaton Slovis 100%?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're Yeah, absolutely.
He's been the leader, like there with you and all these guys. I mean, everything we've heard is that he's the real one of the top leaders in this team.
Yeah, and he is. And again, and that's Keaton. It's just he's going to stick to his process individually. Everybody on the offense and the defense, and again that's where we're at, because that's where we will see improvement. Yeah. Right? It's I think people have this misconception of like, oh, they finally figured it out. It's like, no. This is the type of stuff that's been in the works for a long, long time. It's just finally that process, that effort and the work you put in day after day after day after day after day, even when it doesn't seem like it's paying off, or even when it seems like it's not doing anything for your performance or for the team, it will pay off, right? Eventually. And so that's the thing. Some people are like, oh, like, things need to change up. Things need to, I've heard that there's been some riffraff and people calling for heads, and it's just like, hey, slow down. These guys are professionals, players, coaches. They work their cans off. They work so hard, and believe it or not, they're good at what they do. Yeah. It just, again, there's a lot of moving pieces, and so it just, again, sticking to that process. We've been spoiled, and just to put this in perspective, we've been spoiled. Our offense has been phenomenal my entire career here. Not just good, phenomenal. When we're at Washington State in 2020 run, and we have Tyler Algier, and the offense needs a first down to run the clock out. To know, not even just like, okay, to know that we can just hand it to Tyler. The offensive line is going to get a great push, and then he's going to do his thing, right, and get us the first down so we can run the game clock out. I mean, that is not – every offense wants that. Yep. Very few offenses can deliver that. So we've had a phenomenal offense for the past couple of years. And so it is, maybe it's been a little bit of a letdown to see how, they've performed this year. But again, the process that created those phenomenal offenses that we've seen, it didn't go anywhere, guys. You know what I mean? And so it's still there, and they're still working it, and we will see results from that. I know that was a very long-winded,
I love it,
little tangent there, but I love our offensive guys. They work their cans off, and they're sticking to their process. So just trust the process, and good things will come.
Well, when you bring up the offenses of the past, since you've been at BYU, you think Zach Wilson, you think Dax Milne, you think about Puka Nacua, Jaron Hall, Tyler Algier. There's been some studs on offense. There's some studs now with Darius Lassiter making big plays, Chase Roberts. There's a lot of talent. Aiden Robbins, I still think, could be one heck of a running back, and this offensive line's got talent. I think that's one of the things too, Tyler, is that I feel like people are maybe the frustration stems a little bit from, you guys have talent. Like, this is not a team from years ago when you first signed with BYU in 17. I'll say, not to put you on the spot, but I felt like that it was kind of a tear down studs where Kalani's building it back up in his own vision. You guys have talent. It's just, maybe is it a byproduct of just the transition of going to the Big 12 and bringing so many new faces together, whether it's coaching staff and players? I mean, there's a lot of new pieces to this group, and then you add in a new conference too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit it right on the head. Again, like we mentioned earlier, it's just there's a lot of moving parts. Yeah. There are so many moving parts. You got to remember, you're talking about 11 guys on the field, 11 guys that have their own lives, that have their own issues, whatever. The coaches, support, you know what I mean? There's so many pieces that go into it. So to bring that together and just to expect greatness off the bat, which, is what we've done just because we've been great in the past, offensively. It's a high expectation, and it's not that we can't reach that expectation. It's just, it's unfortunately taking a little bit longer than anticipated.
Are you pretty in touch, you feel like? And I know you probably respect everyone's privacy, but do you kind of feel like you got a good temperature of your teammates, at least especially on the defensive side, of where their heads are at? Because the lives they've got beyond the football field. Do you kind of try to get a sense of where everyone is at as a captain and a leader of this team, to just know where everyone feels. Because I remember a story from a player, I think it was, I'm not going to mention names, but it was mentioned to, they reached out to some people with NIL about how they were kind of struggling. They needed something to fix their car. They had no transportation, just the realities of things. Do you kind of make an effort to kind of get a feel for where everyone's at, and whether it's mentally or whatnot?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have a really good team culture where the guys take care of each other. And again, it doesn't have to be, I don't think it has to be, again, super in depth.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
But you're there for them.
Exactly. And guys know that.
Yeah.
And guys know that and trust that. And I give credit to the guys that came before me, right? Just the leaders and the captains and the players that came before me, because that culture was here when I got here. Guys genuinely care about each other off the field, right? It's not that cold business sense of, we're just here for whatever. It's like, no, even if some days I freaking hate your guts, like, I'm here for you. We're here for you. This is a brotherhood. We care about each other. We love each other. We take care of each other, and everyone, I think everyone does a really good job showing that and doing that. I think this honestly is one of the most tight-knit teams that I've ever been on. And I think, again, it's due to that culture that has been established, right, by Kalani and by the former players of just, guys know each other. They take care of each other. And yeah, so I would say, I feel like I have a decent, again, you don't always know everything, but I feel like I have a decent, heartbeat on the guys on our team.
Good stuff. And I got a reminder of the culture in this BYU football program this week. I saw one of the offensive linemen, Jake Eichhorn. He got baptized, and I spoke with Jake this week about his story, and it reminded me, he said being at BYU was the best decision of his life, transferring here, and just the culture. He spoke just glowingly about everything about it. And by chance, were you there at that experience for Jake, and just maybe the depths of what this culture is about that Kalani's built and what BYU football represents? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I was at his baptism on Sunday. I would say the majority of the team was there. It's the most people I've ever seen at a baptism.
Yeah,
by far and away. By far and away. I mean, when you're filling pretty much the whole chapel and the cultural hall.
Wow.
For a baptism,
I thought I was pretty cool. My kid's 8-year baptism when I got the Relief Society room filled. That's impressive.
Yeah. So it was a really cool moment, and awesome for Jake. It's I think a lot of the guys, I for one didn't even know he was meeting with missionaries.
Yeah.
I heard I think about 2 weeks before the baptism, like, oh, Jake's been meeting with the missionaries, and then it was like, no, he's getting baptized. And so it was really cool to see, again, members and non-members alike, right? Come out and support him. Again, it wasn't just like
Jake Retzlaff was there.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't just like, oh, hey, you're getting baptized. Cool. Good for you. It was like, hey, no, even if I don't share that belief, that faith, I'm going to come support you just because, again, we're teammates, right? And so I think that highlights, again, the culture that we have is guys are there for their teammates, and that's still something that we want to continue building on. It's, again, not perfect, but we want to keep that culture growing where guys take care of each other.
It was pretty cool too talking to Jake, and we'll have the shameless plug. I'll have the full interview on extended pregame coming up on Saturday, but he talked about his first point of reference becoming a BYU fan, despite not being LDS. He got to know Tijan Karoma back in the day. Did you know this?
I did not know that.
Yeah, he formed a relationship as a kid with Tijan Karoma, and that grew his love for BYU. So even though he wasn't LDS, he had a connection to Tijan Karoma, and he explained it all, but talked about how he just always loved BYU from afar, but now being here, and he just felt like this is a perfect thing. And just you could tell that this was a guy that the BYU experience has had just a real impact on his life. And it was a good reminder, because I think that so many times you get caught up, I think media and fans, it's like the results. You got to win the Power 5.
The
And like, I get
bottom
it. I get it. And believe me, when I'm watching the game, I'm thinking, man, this was there. But there's so much that goes into these football programs and what you guys represent every single time you take the field. And next time you take the field, it's this Saturday night, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Embrace the night against West Virginia, as Kalani Sitake said. What do you think about West Virginia and the challenge that the Mountaineers pose as a run-heavy attack on offense?
I'm excited for it. I'm really excited for it. They're a good team. You know, as we've seen, I would say I've probably watched the majority of their games on TV, as we've been in a hotel, or I feel like they've played normally in windows where we're not playing. And so I feel like I've been able to, again, watch the majority of their games live, which has been awesome, and it's been great to see them play. They're a good team, and like you said, they have a really good running game. They have a really good running quarterback. He likes to get loose, and so I'm excited. I think our defense has progressively gotten better versus the run over the season, and so really excited to face that challenge.
Yeah, 81st nationally, but it does feel like you guys are trending up. So you feel like you guys are ready for that opportunity, because Garrett Green at quarterback, C.J. Donaldson running back, I mean, they lean into it. I mean, they are a run-first team, and that's kind of the calling card of a lot of Big 12 teams. They got good running backs, but you guys feel like you're kind of battle-tested and ready for this moment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think, again, I think they're a great team, but I know everyone's really excited to see how we stack up with them come Saturday.
Not many mobile quarterbacks you guys have faced off the top of my head. I mean, Jalen Daniels, that was the last game he's actually appeared in. Emory Jones, but outside of that, I mean, I can't recall many. I mean, Hoover was not, and then last week, Malik Murphy, surprisingly not. I think people look at him and think mobile, but he's more just sitting back and he's sitting in that pocket. I thought he would actually had a little more escapability, but that's not his calling card.
Yeah, I kind of anticipated the same thing, that he would move a little bit more, but I saw someone say in the week leading up to the game more of a Ben, like a Big Ben type, and he definitely was. He sat back there and didn't move quite as much. And so we haven't seen, I would say, as many mobile quarterbacks as we normally have. But Virginia's quarterback is very mobile, and he likes to take that ball.
The challenges that come with facing a mobile quarterback that has no problem running, what comes with that?
You got to account for him 24/7. You got to account for him 24/7. And not only does he like to run it right, their scheme is based around that, right? And so there's, designed QB runs. That doesn't mean that they can't give it to the running back. But when you not quite a triple option, right? But you've got to account for multiple runners, multiple ball carriers. Maybe it's an RPO, so you're also taking into account that there may be a pass set up off of a run action as well. And so, they do some different stuff. And so, those are the challenges we face. Is just you gotta be doing your job. You can't be caught lacking, or else you may pay.
Have you ever visited the state of West Virginia in your life for anything?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
What was the reason?
Last year we were there for Liberty. I believe we stayed.
Oh, was that on the border of like Virginia and West Virginia?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe we stayed at the, if I'm not mistaken, we stayed at the hotel that West Virginia stays at for home games.
Oh, wow.
If I'm not mistaken, I may be putting my foot in my mouth here, but I believe
geography lesson. We got to go check this.
No, I believe, because normally, again, we did not stay close to Liberty. It was a good bus ride away.
Really?
And so, if I'm not mistaken, I think we stayed. I think yes.
Okay.
I think I have.
Yeah, I haven't met many that have been to West Virginia. It's such a new trip. It's kind of the highlight of the new Big 12. First time you guys are going to the Eastern time zone. We were talking before the recording. This is typically, this is, by November, you're like, this is the fourth one we've done this year, the first time this year.
Yeah, and that's definitely different. Yeah, normally we have some early games out east, whether it's, in the past, right, they're preseason or regular season. It really didn't matter to us, but, we definitely spent some more time back east. And, this year, first game out there.
So you guys will, as of this recording, it's a Wednesday night. You guys will travel out on Thursday, And what's kind of the schedule look like? Do you guys do like a ballroom walkthrough? Like what do you do in these hotels?
Yeah, so we will definitely try to get active, right? You don't just want to be sitting around for 2 days straight and then, go play a game. And so we'll get out. Honestly, we'll probably get out onto a field somewhere at some point, get some blood moving. Just keeping you loose, keeping the body loose, keeping the blood moving. Of course, meetings and whatnot. We will have a little bit more free time on our hands, right? Where we're on the road, we're not going to classes, doing some homework for sure as we're out there. And so it's really, as we travel out tomorrow, it'll be a longer flight, longer travel time. So that will eat up a good portion of the day. Get out there, walk through meetings, dinner, whatever. And then Friday, have an all-day Friday, we'll get out and go move and again some meetings. And then it's going to feel extra long because then it's all-day Saturday as well.
I was surprised by that. I thought we were going to see maybe another day game, but maybe the Big 12 offices were like, hey, these guys are vampires. We need to put this thing at night.
Yeah, maybe. But it'll be a long day Saturday and just watching college football and, of course, stretching and staying fresh. So
Kalani said, embrace the night. He's leaning in on this night thing.
Yeah. I mean,
why not? You guys are better at night. I know.
I can't. Honestly, I can't. I don't know if we are. I really statistically speaking, yes, right. I know the stats. I'm aware of that. I think that just we've probably played more night games traditionally as an independent
and I think the argument too is in the daytime you're typically getting those maybe number 7 ranked Texas. You're getting you're just getting a little bit, not to say that the 8-15 games are low profile games, but you're getting a different level of opponent. That afternoon window is always going to be maybe a perennial top 25 team.
Yeah. I totally agree with that.
But it's another challenge to go up against another team. And I think, too, I got to ask, Tyler, how exciting is it to have November mean something? I know last year you guys rallied, and man, that win against Boise last year was awesome. And the rallying efforts to not give up on the season and bounce back in November, it was something to remember to close out the Independence era. But to know November still matters, and there's a lot more than just kind of pride and rallying the troops. There's still a conference race. There's still jockeying for whatever bowl games. I mean, there's still a lot on the line to be a spoiler too.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Again, I think there's a ton on the line for us. I also, I think this team is really good at, just taking it game by game, right? Yeah. I think all season they've been really focused on, hey, we're not focused on the rest of that. We're focused on this week. What can we do to win this week? And so with 4 games and a mentality like that, I think we can accomplish a lot.
Best of luck on Saturday night at West Virginia. And I'm sure, as Kalani said, he had a pretty fun rendition. He's like, I'm excited to hear Country Roads. And he's like, what is that? What's the song? And he's like, then he starts singing Country Roads. I'm like, okay, there we go. We'll hear a little bit of John Denver. I think he sang that. So it should be fun at West Virginia. 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Mountain Time on KSL News Radio and FS1 for those watching, of course, on television. So best of luck, Tyler. We'll talk to you next week. And these weeks are just flying by, man. We got to slow down a little bit here.
I agree.
Well, best of luck.
Thanks,
it's always
Mitch.
fun, Tyler. And make sure to follow him on all the socials, even though he'll admit he's not checking those, but follow him on Instagram, and follow him on X, follow him on any social media, maybe LinkedIn if you got one of those two. Hit him up there, and you can follow Tyler's story and all of his success here throughout the BYU football season. We'll talk to you next week here on the Cougar Tracks Podcast, and it's powered by KSL Sports.